feel best when I'm on a cut, probably less than 100 grams of carbs a day. But my workouts definitely struggle. I guess I didn't realize I was crashing until after I got my lab results.
Okay, so explain the crash. What do you mean by that? You eat a meal with carbohydrates. How long afterwards do you feel like you want to fall asleep? Oh, yeah, that's your crash, bro.
Yeah.
Do carbohydrates make you tired? Well, let's find out why that might be. Today's question is inspired from one of the podcasts that I listen to. It's Mind Pump. If you don't know it, I wholeheartedly recommend watching it. And in today's question, there is a guy asking about carbohydrates making him tired. But he also knows that he's feeling tired. But on the other hand, if he doesn't have those carbohydrates, his workouts are not as good. So how can we troubleshoot it? Let's find out.
I feel best when I'm on a cut, probably less than 100 grams of carbs a day. But my workouts definitely struggle as far as just strength and intensity levels and stuff like that. So I guess I didn't really notice it until I went on my first cut, and I was in phase 2 of anabolic. And about the same time, I had lab work done with Dr. Cabral. And then everything just kind of clicked and made sense. I guess I didn't realize I was crashing until after I got my lab results. So they labeled me as a fast oxidizer.
Well, so here is the first thing. He noticed crashing, but he didn't really realize it until after he had his labs done, which can be also like something just in your mind. But what we see, or what I see pretty often, is that you don't feel tired until you have some comparison point to that. So if you are constantly tired, you don't know you are tired. If you are constantly underfueling, undereating, you don't know how it feels to eat properly, and so on. And he had this test done, and it labels him as fast oxidizer.
And everything just kind of made sense. So I guess I'm looking for your opinion on, should I bump up fats to take care of the caloric deficit because I cut carbs, or what would you do?
Oh, good question. Okay, so explain the crash. What do you mean by that? You eat a meal with carbohydrates. How long afterwards do you feel like you want to fall asleep?
Oh, quick, man, like 45 minutes.
Okay, so I'm similar to.
So here I would ask also not only like how fast he crashes, but what does that carbohydrate rich meal looks like? Because what I often see in practice, like people say, I crash after that carbohydrate meal. Tell me the quality of that carbohydrate. Tell me how you slept before, if it is, for example, your morning. Tell me how many carbs it is. It is like 20 grams of carbs, or is it like 100 grams of carbs? Because what I see often, people would have some specific meal in their head. So for example, I eat oatmeal for breakfast. They associate oatmeal with something healthy, like it should work for everyone. But it doesn't work for me. I feel tired after this. And it's lacking protein, it's lacking fats, and it's like really just pure sugar kind of thing. Well, in that case, that might be very well true for you. It also might be true that you are reacting to a specific food, so it's not like carbohydrate per se, but it is a specific carbohydrate. Maybe it's after banana, but not after oatmeal. Or maybe it is after oatmeal and not after banana.
What you're talking about. So first off, you can bump fats to make up the difference with calories, and you can build muscle on a lower carbohydrate diet. You will notice some performance drops from the lack of carbohydrates, but you could do pretty well with a relatively low carbohydrate diet that's higher in proteins and higher in fats. But let's say you want to bump the carbs, but you're like, man, I crash. What am I going to do? Well, here's what you do. You eat your carbs at night. Eat your carbs at night before bed. This is what I do. So throughout the day, I may eat around 75 to 100 grams of carbohydrates. And then dinner time is when I have a larger carbohydrate meal. And it works out perfectly because then I go to bed and I sleep like a baby. And studies actually show that eating carbohydrates an hour or two before bed actually does contribute to better sleep for a lot of people. So unless it...
So carbohydrates before bed improve sleep. Like, the studies are pretty inconsistent, but what I found so far is that like people who are like really sedentary, they might have trouble falling asleep, or actually carbohydrates before bed can interfere or lower the quality of their sleep. But also the quality of carbohydrates is huge. So it means like if you are eating like your fast food, typical diet that is high in processed sugars, then it lowers the quality of your sleep. But when you eat like high quality carbohydrates like this, like fruit, vegetables, and so on, it tends to improve your sleep or contributes to better sleep. Then also athletes have improved sleep even after simple carbohydrates as their last meal or evening dinner. And that might be also because if you train in the afternoon or in the evening, then all those carbs will go to muscle mass and it will also improve your sleep. So that's quite observational as well. So always context matters.
Causes digestive issues, in which case the advice will be different. But if that's not the case, then you can bump your carbs by having a carbohydrate meal about an hour or two before bed.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I love that. There's not much I can add to that too. And he does have, I see it says on his notes that he has zero digestive issues. So the fact that you don't, loading up before bed and then that way, and then I think you'll feel a difference in your workouts. I actually think that
totally
you'll have better workouts because you did carb load. You just did it at the back. So backloading carbs is what that is, right? So,
yep.
And I've played with this before, and I'm not quite like you and Sal in this situation. I actually feel the difference when I'm low carb going into workout. So I find that I have to have about 75 to 100 grams before I lift to really feel the benefits from them. So for me, I have to be a little bit higher carb, but this is great advice. I think just switch them over towards the evening, and I think you'll feel a difference alone from that.
Yeah, I'll eat a good 100 grams of carbohydrates or more with dinner. And so what it typically looks like is I'll have my main dinner meal, and then I'll get up and I'll help get the kids ready or whatever, start doing the dishes a little bit. And about 30, 45 minutes later, then I'll start having some fruit, and that'll typically add another 20, 30 grams of carbohydrates. And then I'm winding down. By this point, it's maybe 7:45, 8 p.m. I put the baby down. I put Aurelius down, and I don't go to bed till about 9:30 or so. So then my wife and I hang out a little bit. I feel my energy start to come down. I start to get nice and sleepy, and I sleep like a champion. And if you watch how I eat during the day, especially while I'm podcasting, I don't have more than 35 grams of carbohydrates really throughout the day. It's not till later when I don't mind my energy dropping. So I would say give that a shot.
Now, have you played? I'm assuming you might have already tried this, but I notice a difference on the types of carbohydrates and how I feel like that too, right? So,
boom! Now we are talking.
So
totally,
I will feel sluggish and sleepy if I have things like bread or pasta like that, like you described 45 minutes later. But if I do have things like fruit or sweet potato, those things don't seem to make me crash like that. Have you noticed that? Are you like that, or what's it like for you?
It's kind of intermittent, and it's weird because I don't necessarily crash all the time. It's just it's different every freaking time. So, but I do well with fruits and rice and potatoes.
Thank you.
But it's not even a very long crash. Like I might just crash it's a roller coaster. It's just up and down all day. I might crash for 20 or 30 minutes and then it's over with, and then I feel fine.
You know what you might want to try, what might actually bring you some value, is a CGM.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that.
Sure.
Yeah, because
I knew it.
Yeah, because you can see then what is giving you these insulin, spikes and crashes.
Right.
Because when we, we work with Nutrisense, and they work with CGMs and with nutritionists. And when I would look at my chart, the big spikes and drops, 100% is when I'd get those crashes. When I would eat carbohydrates that tend to not do that to me, then I would feel much better. And so I identified for me which carbohydrates tend to make me, sugar does it for me. So if I eat like anything that's like processed sugar, I'll do it. And definitely gluten containing carbohydrates will do it for me. But if I eat like white rice and I combine it with protein and fat, not an issue. If I have oatmeal and let's say the carbohydrates are no higher than let's say 40 grams, then it tends to not be an issue for me. And then fruit, whole fruit, not fruit juice, whole fruit tends to not be an issue. But it's going to be different from person to person.
Yeah, I think there's tremendous value.
So you see, the quality of the carbs, they just added to what I was already saying, and every person is different, but also mind the quality of the carbohydrates, because not all carbohydrates are created equal. Not all food is created equal.
And at least I don't still wear my CG, but I think wearing it for a little while just to see those and just the how individualized it's so fast. It's fascinating at the least to see, and maybe you can start to create some correlations between how you're feeling and what types of foods you're eating.
Are you a coffee drinker as well? Do you do caffeine a bit in the morning?
Man, I definitely have a caffeine problem.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily the coffee so much, but yeah, I'm probably around 1,000 milligrams.
Oh,
yeah.
That's your crash, bro.
Yeah.
What the hell? 1,000 milligrams, just for your reference, like a normal shot of espresso made from like 9 grams of coffee is about, let's say, 60 or 70 milligrams. When you go to coffee shop, they make you like this pretty much modern espresso can be up to 18 grams of coffee, or from 18 grams of ground coffee beans, and that's like equivalent to doppio, and that would be like, 120 to 150 milligrams of caffeine. And if it goes up to 1,000, man, that's like I would die personally. I would die.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's usually where I notice it the most.
You're probably right, but maybe 700 on a normal day. But if I feel like getting after it, then I take the pre-workout, and then that bumps at 350.
Okay. Yeah.
See, that's a good. I'm glad you asked that. Justin asked you a key question there. That right. Caffeine 100%. I'm gonna say right now is contributing to these roller coasters.
Not only that, you're like literally right at the number. Okay, so my rule is when I go over 700. So as soon as I go over, because what I've connected for myself personally is when I go over 700. Justin and I were literally just talking about this the other day. I was telling him, like, dude, isn't it crazy when you start to push to your upper limit of how much caffeine you should have? The last caffeine drink actually makes me tired.
Yeah. My energy does all kinds of weird shit when my caffeine gets high. It goes up and down, and I'm irritable, and it makes a huge impact.
Right, and I've been on it for so long. I worked third shift for years, so it makes sense.
So as you can see, guys, like he came here asking a question about carbohydrates making him tired, and in reality, it was probably not the carbohydrates. Maybe a contributing factor, but he seems to be really fit, so he shouldn't have any like metabolic conditions like insulin resistance or anything like that. He has a lot of muscle and he's working out, but he is working triple shifts or like also during night and so on. This has been shown to dysregulate your insulin or glucose tolerance. And so you see, he is also basically addicted to caffeine, like with so huge amounts of caffeine. Jesus Christ. So this was the reason why I wanted to show it to you. Often people come to me, they ask a question and they have some assumption that this is the thing that's making me feel bad. And in reality, it's completely something different. If you want to know more, if you want to learn more, I will drop links below in the description where you will find a link to this specific podcast episode. And also, if you like this video, if you have any questions, like, share, follow, and subscribe to my weekly newsletter where I share tips on how to improve your health, energy and performance, so you feel, look and perform your best.